Welcome back to the Mail-In Podcast. Happy New Year to all the postal workers out there. Randy didn't like that name for the listeners. I am your host, Brett Merriman. Excited to be back in 2025 on the Mail-In Podcast. To my right, my lovely co-host, Sally deFries. What is up, Sally? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thanks for rescheduling for me.
All good? Hook 'em horns tonight. Big game.
I'm very stressed about it.
Collegiate football semifinals against the lovely Ohio State Buckeyes. How are you feeling?
Nervous.
Okay.
I hadn't been nervous until like a couple hours ago.
Are you so Ohio State is favored right now by 6.5. I just checked the line.
I thought Texas was favored when you told me that. So that's why I was shocked.
No.
Okay.
Say the game goes as expected. Texas loses by 10.
Okay.
Is the season a success? Are you satisfied? Or does your Texas brain immediately every year like championship or bust?
I'm a championship or bust girl.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to affect me after tonight? No, not in the slightest. It won't affect me at all, actually. But I will be bummed for them.
Yeah,
I do think that this is the year. I think Texas, as a football team and having been a fan my entire 35 years of life, we're at a point where we finally are good again after just years and years and years of mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they don't get it done this year. I don't know that they can get it done next year.
Wow. Okay.
I think this is our moment.
I like that. I mean,
and I kind of I feel the same way about the Detroit Lions. So who I'm very nervous about. I'm shockingly more invested in the Lions right now than I am in Texas, and I am not for Michigan.
Oh boy, I get that because I feel that way with Ole Miss. It's like they are not a program I think equipped to go back to back to back to back like a Georgia and just reload. Where I think Texas might have a little bit of that to them. But
Texas has that, and I think
money and
especially now that
recruiting.
We're part of the SEC, they have that. And if they keep Sark, which I don't think that there's any way that Sark would ever go to the Cowboys.
That would be that's the rumor, the soup du jour.
But I think
Sark
he would take a pay cut. That would suck.
I know. Maybe.
Anyway, the very little I know about football, I think that we got to get it done this year. We got to get it done this year.
I'll give you a little more optimism. I think they're a reload program, being the Texas Longhorns.
I'm not saying they're not a reload program. I'm just saying
get it done. Let's go.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's if we lose tonight, I'm going to be furious, and then I'll be fine.
Okay, I get that. And then it's Lions playoff game, right into it. Yeah, big weekend.
Well, no, they're not playing this weekend.
Oh, that's right. They got the 1 seed. They got the 1 seed.
I shockingly, as someone who I grew up on sports, that was my dad was y'all are gonna know how football works. Y'all are gonna know. I mean, we watched a lot of Texas sports in general. We had no pro team. Texas is our pro team, and I watched every sport growing up, so I know the rules. I know how it works, and I have my enthusiasm has waned probably in the past 10 years because while I'm in college, everything's great, even though we suck. But just my ability to care and be invested in games that Texas isn't related to is pretty much nil. The Lions being good, and Will being a Lions fan, and me by marriage, and Texas being good, and kind of the playoff and things like that has made me go full all in on football.
Okay.
Which is hilarious because for years I was who gives a fuck? And people oh my God, now we have to go 200 days without football. And I'm actually kind of feeling that because it's just been a lot. It's on a lot in our house right now.
Sure. That's what comes with being good though. It's kind of nice.
But I also sound like such a hard out because normally I'm I could give a shit, and I probably won't after tomorrow.
Big deal. Final Four is big. It's fun. The Lions 1 seed. I was like that with Ole Miss being really good this year, and then the Bills big game on Sunday. Randy, what are your teams? What's up this weekend for you?
I didn't have my camera on, so I had to turn it on. And it's still not on. Great. They're terrible. They're terrible. My teams are terrible. Hook 'em. I'm currently wearing my thing, but yeah, Purdue went 1-11.
Yeah. Have you heard about this hack that Randy does on Texas game days?
What?
He wears his Longhorns gear
Okay.
because you get 10% off at Randall's if you wear the gear.
Oh. You know, at TCU, when I was at TCU, if you wore
Go
at
Frogs.
TCU any sort of memorabilia, you got free Chick-fil-A on Fridays.
Whoa.
Mhm.
For a college kid, I mean, that's a big deal right there.
I know. And you know what? I never partook.
Really?
But usually on Friday afternoons, I was like leaving to come to Austin.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like,
what's your Chick-fil-A order?
Like whatever's in front of me, nugget tray
Just
for
anything.
myself.
Nugget tray it's a classic. I big fan of their breakfast sandwiches actually.
The breakfast sandwiches slap. They're really, really good.
Like up there with the McDonald's breakfast sandwich, if not ahead of it.
Oh, I think ahead of it.
Yeah, I would agree.
A chicken mini's a solid option.
Chick-fil-A sauce number 1. I love their barbecue sauce, but I'm also a barbecue sauce kind of
same.
And Polynesian classic, buffalo good, fine.
No, but I'm a nuggets and barbecue sauce type of person.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Can't go wrong. It doesn't get as much love, I think, as it should. Barbecue sauce.
I think barbecue
and
sauce
nuggets.
is definitely the like go to at McDonald's for me.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Over
Burger
everything.
King, McDonald's. People can do ranch and people can do whatever, but
ranch in a package like kind of gives me anxiety.
Yeah, I get it because it's like it's
too creamy. It's like should we have this in a packet? Dairy? It is dairy, and well, it's mayonnaise.
Packaged ranch
or like buttermilk.
I guess so. I don't. The more I think about that, the more
it's buttermilk.
It's mayonnaise. I mean, you can get buttermilk ranch.
Yeah, a ranch base is mayo, right?
It's mayo. Yeah.
Okay.
I think if it's buttermilk, it might have to be refrigerated.
Yeah.
If it's just like whatever.
If it's just
If it's nuggets, barbecue sauce. If it's tenders, ranch. That's how I do it.
Okay, that's a good delineation.
I'll mess with that. How's your holiday, Sally? Your break?
It's fine.
Yeah.
It felt weird this year. It was like too short, and then the week between Christmas and New Year's lasted 17 years.
Right, where time doesn't exist,
and I was off the whole time, and I was like sick, and I told Will, I was like, next year we're going somewhere. I can't be in our house.
There's a pretty good little flu situation going around.
Yeah.
I got sick. Everybody I knew seemed to have a cold or flu.
I didn't have the flu, but or at least to my knowledge, I think I would have known that it was terrible, but I was like not healthy.
Flus will get you. You know you have the flu because you feel like you just got hit by a truck. The fatigue factor versus a cold. Cold, you just feel like shit. Flu is like, oh, I got to sit on the couch for 17
you can't even like get out of bed. Yeah. And do you ever get like sickness Stockholm syndrome where like you are so sick, and then like the day after you're so sick where you're like kind of sick, but you're not like in the like throes of being sick? You're like, man, I kind of like wish I could go back to that like really sickness, because there's something that sounds so fucked up. Like, there's something cozy about being when you're like sick and you're just like gorked out on NyQuil. You're watching movies. You're in your bed. You're like, you're ill. You're like, you got the fever. You got chills. You're dying.
But
then you're like, I know I have no responsibilities because I'm sick.
Yeah, I get that.
The next day, when you're like,
when you
like feel better,
you get one good 24 hours, and then the people around you start to be like, okay, like.
And so then the next day you're like, I'm still sick, but I'm not as bad as yesterday. And I would go back to yesterday to just at least avoid responsibility.
I did that. Yeah, it's like a nice. You're under the covers.
I don't know. I always get a little bit of like Stockholm syndrome.
Get the soup going.
Yeah.
When I get sick, I usually try to like mentally beat it for a while. Just like, no, I'm not sick. Flu's different though. Flu, I've had a couple good stomach flus where you like lose 10 pounds.
Yeah.
And you're on the couch and you better have the bathroom within, a 9-second walk kind of thing. But
yeah.
I've
never felt that way about a stomach bug. Yeah, I'm never trying to go back to that. Okay. I'm just saying there's a certain coziness, especially in the wintertime when you're ill and you're like, well, fuck it.
Yeah.
Just guess I'm going to go all Hallmark movies.
Hallmark movies, just you have like literally the Kleenex box is like on the couch with you.
Yeah. You go through 2 Puffs Plus.
Yeah. Your nose has got that red. Yeah. I get it. Anyway, would you like to answer some questions there, Sal?
Yes, I would love to do that. Sorry.
Well, before we do, why don't we hear from our friends over at Green Chef? Did you get your Green Chef box?
I did.
Let's
I did.
freaking go.
And honestly, all 3 meals are like, I was psyched to get.
Yes.
Again, I never pick them out when they send them to me. I just am
I
like,
don't
this is
either,
a
by the way.
roulette situation. We have some sort of ancho chicken stew
Mm-hmm.
that I think I'm going to make tonight because it's like really cold out. I'm very
Oh, it's
pumped.
perfect.
And it's like,
cold
I feel like
weather
that's
meals.
a great like game day because you can almost like treat it like chili, but it's like a stew situation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make it and then have like serve it with like tortilla chips and little
Look
accoutrements.
at you go.
And then we got like some sort of curry noodle
Mm-hmm.
dish, pork curry noodles, and then a salmon dish.
Yeah,
I
like
can't remember
a
what they were.
miso salmon or something like that.
Yes. All
Yeah.
of them look great.
Fire. Absolutely great. And that is what Green Chef is going to do for you folks. This year, ditch the fads and create healthier eating habits that last with real clean foods. Green Chef makes it easy with recipes curated for a variety of lifestyles and dietary needs. Pre-made sauces, pre-portioned ingredients, less prep and no mess, and more time to savor delicious restaurant quality meals. I always say this. They give you the tools to be your own boss. It's not pre-packaged, like put it in the microwave. You got to do some work, right? It comes in a box. They give you the ingredients. You got to go to work. You got to get your chef on. And that's what they've done for me over the last, like 3 years now, 4 years, where I used to just make pasta and like peanut butter toast. And now I'm pretty
You're a
competent
chef.
in the kitchen. Yeah. And that's because of Green Chef. Because you got to do the work. You got to make the meals. But they turn out great because they pre-portion everything for you. So there's very little food waste, which I love, especially as a single dude living by himself. I don't have to throw a bunch of stuff away. Whereas if I go to the grocery store, get a bunch of produce, get a bunch of meat, stuff ends up sitting in the freezer forever, sitting in the fridge forever. Then I throw it away. Green Chef is perfect for that. Better eating habits too, because Green Chef is going to give you meals. How about some honey ginger shrimp, Southwest pork chopped salad, honey mustard chicken salad? You're getting some good food that's good for you with the help of Green Chef. So here is the deal, folks. Go to greenchef.com/mail-free and use code MAILFREE to get started with free salads for 2 months, plus 50% off your first box. You kidding me, Randy?
No, I'm not kidding you.
Crazy.
It's a great deal.
That's code MAILFREE at greenchef.com/mail-free to get 50% off your first box plus 2 months of salads for free. You want to lead off, Sal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Brett and Sally. First time, long time. I'm 22 weeks pregnant and a first time mom / pregnant lady. My husband and I are getting a lot of crap from friends for not wanting to go on certain trips. First trip is a group trip to Cabo for my friend's 40th birthday. My husband is on the fence about going because I'll be 32 weeks and he's worried about Zika / early labor due to the baby's size. Our friends that are earlier in their pregnancy and not first-time parents are going. We are not asking them to change plans. We just said while we'd love to celebrate the friend's birthday, we didn't feel comfortable going to Mexico, but that shouldn't influence or change their plans if they decide to go to Mexico. We're getting a lot of pushback for our feelings and comfort and our ability as new parents I don't think is warranted. The second is for a wedding in Bali where our baby will be 3 months old. The first trip to Bali is at least 2 flights and 22 hours. Wow. We are allowed to bring the 3-month-old to the wedding, but I'm not interested in going because traveling 22 hours with 3-month-old sounds terrible, both for myself, the child, and other passengers. My husband is getting crap from the friend group for me saying I won't go because other friends are bringing their kids. My husband is still planning on going, which I am 100% on board with because these are good friends. Am I being dramatic about saying no to travel plans?
Protect your peace, girl.
Yeah. In no way.
Don't shrug like that, Randy.
My sibling is just like, fuck off. Her
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah.
Like, what's your problem?
If this is like a one-off, like, oh, dude, that's lame, you got to just let that roll off your shoulders and like move on because people feel the need to say stuff about everything. But if they like really can't let it go, you can absolutely look at them and be like, it's my family, my choice, it has nothing to do with you. This is my personal opinion. I do think.
Also, sorry, I just totally stepped all over you
Oh,
there.
no, you're fine.
Being like 32 weeks pregnant in Cabo, doesn't sound all that comfortable to begin with.
So I both times traveled at 32 weeks pregnant.
That's kind of where you're getting to the
36 is normally where OBs will be like, absolutely not. And
Gotcha.
32 was like, they definitely don't want you flying after probably 30. Every pregnancy is a little bit different.
Sure.
32 for me was the last possible moment that I could fly, and I was pretty uncomfortable. And both times we were in the United States. Like once was California and once was Michigan. And I felt pretty strongly both times, especially the first time at 32 weeks was like our baby moon. And I was like, I'm not going to go to Mexico because if something happens, I have to have this baby in Mexico. I'm going to be fucking pissed at myself.
Sure.
At least want to be in like the U.S. healthcare system.
Yep, that makes sense.
It's uncomfortable. And
I mentioned like standing in customs for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Like at 30, because 32, you're big, right?
You're 7 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And everyone's a little bit different, but I feel like first of all, it doesn't matter if you're not pregnant at all and you don't want to go. You should just be able to say no.
Yes,
but somebody's pregnancy is so different from your own, and especially the friends who are pregnant and they already have a child, so they've been pregnant before, should understand that the most. In 2025 and always, but like I am very done with people commenting about my choices of things that I want to do and like whatever their perceptions are. Like whether it be if you're doing a dry January or just going sober in general and like someone really feels the need to like push you on that, whether or not you decide to have a child or what you decide to do with your dating life or your job or whatever, like people need to realize that until you are opening up or asking their opinions are not warranted. And that is really difficult, I think, for some people like me, who I come off like a very opinionated and strong about that. But then like when people ask me in real life, I'm just like, oh my God, I'll just tell you because I'm like a pushover. But I think it's always important to set the boundary for yourself of like, it's our choice. It's our family. What we say goes. And if anybody else is going to comment on that, I would honestly just try to let it slide. People are going to have opinions about every single thing you do as a parent. That just exists.
Yeah.
And you can't take everything. I mean, you can't take things personally, but it's better for your mental health if you just like let that go.
Yeah.
But if it becomes a real issue of like them not letting up, I would like that's a point where you're like, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. This has nothing to do with you. It's a personal health decision. And even if I wasn't pregnant, like I would still hope that you would respect my choice.
Sure.
Now, that being said, for everyone out there who has a child and wants to travel, I don't want to dissuade you from it. I'm not saying these people should go to Bali, by the way, with a 3-month-old, but my sister did travel to Europe with a 6-week-old. And honestly, I will say this to people who are becoming first-time parents. Take advantage
of potato mode, right?
If you want to travel, if you want to.
Yeah.
Take advantage of it while they're young because it seems really daunting, but really they will just lay on you and sleep. So like you can put them in a baby carrier and you feed them and then they pass back out. And that lasts up until they're probably about at the very earliest 6 months, but probably about 9 months.
Okay.
And every time we traveled with Fritz, I would like freak out and be like, he's crying. And then Fritz's cry was like, and like no one could hear him. And I would just freak out. Now that he is like a walking, talking toddler, it's infinitely worse. But that being said, I still would never go to Bali with a 3-month-old, mostly because at 3 months, you are like just starting to feel like a human again.
Okay.
Baby is probably not sleeping through the night.
Oh, can you imagine that schedule change too?
Right. Like at 6 weeks when Lily traveled to Italy with her daughter at 6 weeks for my brother's wedding, is like they're still getting up every few hours.
Yeah.
So you're just like kind of committing. You're like, okay, we're just going to get up and do the feeds and it's going to be what it is. Because like they're just still so tiny. They have no schedule. At 3 months, you're starting to like get a schedule and like have a routine. And so when you take them out of that, babies are basically robots. And when you take them out of routines, it like totally fucks with their hardware. So I personally was like just feeling like I could like leave my house at 3 months.
Okay.
As a first time parent, maybe as a second time parent, I'd be like, yeah, we're good. I would never do that. And honestly, if your husband wants to go, solid. I also would very much suggest that you buy him some refundable airfare, because if something goes wrong or like you're just in the throes of postpartum depression, like you just don't know what those first few months are going to be like.
Sure.
And I want to be positive and be like, it's going to be fine. But Will was supposed to go to a wedding. Well, we got invited to a wedding a month after Fritz was born. And we were like, we're definitely not going to go. And like 2 weeks into me being postpartum, I was like, I think you should go to the wedding. And granted, this is not like changing countries, was going to Chicago. So I was like, I think you should go. If they're open to you coming like super last minute. It was like, it's like one of his best friends from high school and growing up. I was like, I think you should go. Like, I'll be fine for 2 days. And so he went and everything was fine. But give yourself the opportunity to realize like this is a massive life change, and maybe we're not in a position where like traveling to another country is in the cards for us.
Totally.
Traveling like across the Pacific on a 22-hour plane ride, 2 different plane rides or whatever it is so different than like taking a direct to your in-laws or whatever.
Just say that's going to test like you and your husband, let alone you, your husband, and a 3-month-old.
You know, when Lily did it, we were like, it's also her 3rd kid. She's like very laid back as a parent. I even looked at Will and I was like, this is going really well for them and I'm psyched. But like, I personally could never do this. And I think my friends who are moms now, and even some of like our guy friends who are dads, as you have kids, you realize like, I can't even be judgmental about what other people are doing because we're just all trying to survive out here. So the friends that are like making a big deal out of it either don't have kids or they're just being assholes.
Yeah, just ribbing you. They probably don't even mean it like.
Right. They're probably just
giving you shit.
Like take it as a compliment. They want y'all there.
Of course. Right.
But,
right.
Yeah. At 32 weeks pregnant and like everyone's like going out and getting hammered. Like that's not my idea of like my best time ever.
32 weeks in Cabo is just, well, I'm going to go to the beach. You guys go like have your 40-year-old fun.
But it's still pretty annoying. I mean, like at 32 weeks, when I was pregnant with Charlie, me and Will and one of our other friends, another couple who she was pregnant and like a week behind me. So we're both decently pregnant. We were in Michigan and we went to Mackinac Island for a night. And like Will and his friend Brady got absolutely hammered. And like, I'm happy for them, but there's like a certain annoyance where you're like, and we weren't even like around that many people. And the wife was pregnant. So like we both were in the same boat. And I was just like, y'all are kind of being fucking annoying. Like,
it's like let's play charades.
At 7 months in, you're like, this is getting old.
Yeah, I get that. Shouts to 40th birthday parties in Mexico, though.
I mean, I love that move.
One of the drunkest weekends of my life. Shouts to Harps. Happy 40th birthday party in Sayulita.
Just year. We talk about this all the time. Weddings, bachelorette parties, birthday parties, whatever it may be. Like, are you really going to guilt people into going? Like, and then they're there against their will?
That's why they invite a gajillion of people. So they can
let people just decide what to do.
Yeah, it's Bali,
and then be happy about the people who show up. Like
for a Bali wedding, it sounds fucking awesome. But if you can't expect everybody to go to that. The solo husband trip to Bali though sounds wild. He's gonna come back with like Aaron Rodgers.
I can't even fathom bringing my children to Bali right now or ever. I'd be like, good luck. You can go. You can study abroad there.
They got to turn like 12 before.
No, not even. Like you got to be 18 and like able to do it by yourself.
I think this goes beyond the pregnancy thing too. It's like if you invite people to something and they say no, they can't go, or no, they're not coming. You're not owed an explanation.
Pregnant or not, right? Yeah, if you can't go to Bali, guess what? People aren't going to be able to go to Bali.
Like you can't go out one weekend. It's like, why? Don't ask why. Like the only time you're allowed to ask when someone is like, is if they're screwing you over for something. It's like, I need an explanation why like you are screwing me over. Otherwise it's like,
you said you could come to my,
you can't go. Like, okay, well, sorry. Like that's things that you can't go, but I'll let you not come. Like
it's also one thing to say yes and then say no.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm going to your wedding. Oh, 1 week before. I can't go.
Right.
That's
different situation.
Sometimes it's just,
and you know what's funny about this? Normally we see this normally this is what we're getting asked about bachelorette parties for people who are like 23, right? Because it's like the first one, everyone feels obligated to say yes. The fact that this is like 40-year-olds is like kind of like,
I know. I'm like,
come on, you guys.
That's why I think they're almost like ribbon. Like, come on, you're
That's
only
what I
7
think
months
too.
pregnant.
And I think you just gotta protect your peace. Let that shit slide.
Protect your peace. Hot topic of mother-in-laws again, gang. How do you handle a mother-in-law that makes you feel like you're not enough? No direct comments, but actions like being short or annoyed, and expectations like visiting when it's a plane ride away. I struggle big time with this. My parents have a great relationship with their in-laws, so that's what I envisioned, but I've quickly learned that's not always the case. I do not want it to trickle down into my own relationship, but I'm afraid that might eventually happen. Do you just not give a shit about that relationship? Maybe I'm the one that needs therapy or other ideas. I guess it's true when they say date the whole family. Shouts, major shouts to Nancy.
This is hard for me because I think it's hard to tell like how egregious this is.
I want to basically it sounds like the mother-in-law is telling her son, or I guess there was really no like gender assignment here.
Yeah.
Telling your in-law is telling their son or daughter, like, come visit more. Why don't you visit more?
So I'm going to just assume that this is a woman writing about her husband's
That's
mom.
what it felt like.
Because I feel like this is just a rite of passage.
Don't have to worry about that with me, right?
This is the thing about in-laws is it's a new relationship. Like if you think about I'm just assuming again, it's a girl, but mentioned that her parents have great relationships with their in-laws. That took time. Like you are both jostling for and basically creating new rules around your family and relationships of like how to interact with each other and like who does what. You're like, take Nancy, for example. Shouts Nancy. Will's mom. She was Will's mom for 28 years before I was even involved in the picture, right? Like she's his mom. I mean, she's still his mom, but like he was like her mother-son relationships are also interesting. And I can speak to that very well because I have 2 boys, but like, it's probably very similar to like a father-daughter relationship. It's just a little bit different, I think, than when you are the same sex as your kid. So like, if I had a daughter versus like, it's a little nuanced. So that's number 1. Number 2 is then there is a girlfriend, fiance, wife who is involved. And that's like the new woman in his life. You're thinking about, or at least in terms of like Will and my experience with like my sister's mother-in-laws, my brother and my mom. I mean, learned a lot watching the relationship between my brother and my mom. Cause like, this is a very typical, my mom being way too involved. Shouts Jules.
Shouts Jules.
You are looking at someone who like, I'll take my mom and my brother, who did the majority of stuff for my brother for most of his life, like coddled him. I wouldn't say that Nancy coddled Will, but like definitely is that motherly figure. Whereas when you get married, your wife kind of assumes some of that. Like, let's all be serious. I run a lot of Will's life in terms of like what we're eating and who's buying. Like I organize all of our travel.
And that's what I was going to, because I was like, what airline are you flying? He goes, oh, I don't know. Sally will tell me.
I plan everything, like I am the one who makes the schedule. And like, it's been like that before we even had kids. And that's partially my personality. And that's partially probably his very like take a backseat role in general of how he's like pretty laid back and I'm very type A.
Right.
So like, when I hear people complain about mother-in-laws, I think that there is an important distinction to make of, is this an early on relationship? Like how many years into this are we? Because I'm going to be honest, and Nancy, if you're listening, you probably know this, but like the beginning of our relationship was never contentious, but I definitely felt insecure and slighted about things that she never meant. Like she's just like talking or like making a comment about Will or like whatever it may be. And because it's been so drilled into us, like we have to be perfect daughters and like dote on our husband and the fucking patriarchy. We like, it's so funny that women like Nancy will just be like, what are y'all doing? I'm like, oh my God, why are you asking me?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like, and I would like freak out. And Will's like, what is your problem? And I'm like, you need to take control of the situation. He's like, about telling her that we're going to go hang out with my friends. Like, it's just something I think that when you are becoming of marrying age, especially I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I think it happened to a lot of my friends who now like are like, my mother-in-law's great. Is she my own mom? No. And that's the other thing. That's the other distinction. Like, it's not your own parents. You're creating a relationship with a parent that's not your parent.
Mm-hmm.
And that is new too, because it's like a weird nuanced thing where you can't just like say exactly how you feel. Like,
sure, you gotta not dance around things, but you gotta
right. You have
gotta
to take
massage things.
You got to be a little bit political about some stuff.
Sure.
And like, if my mom is annoying me, I'll just like,
you can just snap,
ignore her or snap at her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that to Nancy.
Right.
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 And so that is like kind of the vibe I'm getting from this question.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say is I have some friends who have some like truly awful mother-in-laws who are just doing egregious shit that like is very conniving and like judgmental and just bitchy. I mean, and I'm talking about 10 years in, they're just still being insane. And like, this is what I'm saying. There's a difference. There's a difference in being like, was that on purpose? Or just understanding their communication style and how they interact with their son versus like shit that you're like, okay, well, that's fucking psychopath. Like that's you're doing that on purpose.
And I can imagine it changes when you have a child too.
Yeah.
It's like when grandma mode gets activated.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we've had callers or emailers be like, hey, my mother-in-law now wants to see the kid every day and is not coming in our house without knocking on the door type of stuff. Then there's like what I've felt. I don't have a mother-in-law, but I've had girlfriend mother-in-laws.
Yeah.
And there's almost sort of like you have to show them that you treat their daughter correctly.
Right.
Or treat their son correctly, kind of thing. So there's almost like that hurdle first. Because even your significant other can like you or love you, that you have to show their parents as well.
Yeah.
And then 2, there's almost like a rite of passage, not hazing per se, but you almost got to like knock down the door.
Stripes.
You got to earn your stripes a little bit. Like, if your mother-in-law calls you your significant other's like ex's name, you know what I mean? Like just stuff like that is like, oh, that's a ribbing. Like that's a poke. And if you can like get through it and you build up and you make some dinners and you get through like, oh, this is decent, but you try my son's yams, they're so good. Like just kind of that.
Yeah.
And you kind of build up to a point where maybe you rib back a little bit and then you just build this relationship. It's like it's a family member. You have to build this nuanced relationship with somebody that you're marrying into.
Right.
It's not your friend. You didn't pick them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, you got something you got to massage. And like you said, you can't get worked up over the slightest thing and let it eat at you forever and ever and ever and be like, hey, you gotta take care of your mom. Like she thinks I'm doing this. And I'm sure Will was like, what are you talking about? Like that's.
I think again, if I really had the balls and it's never needed. This has never been needed. But if I had a mother-in-law that was like, said something like just truly awful or like called me someone else's name or whatever, I wish I had the balls to be like, why would you say that?
Yeah.
Because literally saying, why would you say that to somebody? This also goes back to the first question. If you just put someone on the spot and they're just like, why are you drinking? Why are you doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sarah, and that's your ex's or that's your husband's name. I'd just be like, why'd you say that? Because that makes somebody feel so uncomfortable.
Oh, it gets
guilty.
them in like like lightning bolt.
But this is, I'm just going to guess here that this is like probably a newish, and I'm talking less than 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like until you have been with somebody and like, and not even had a baby, but like had kids or been with someone for 10 years, maybe less than that, but like at least 5 of like really being around this in-law, you cannot say like, I know she hates me, because I think that there is just people just figuring out what their role is.
Totally. I know my mom, God rest her soul, she would have been like so you like my son, huh?
Yeah.
But do you like him more than me? Kind of like
Right.
vibe. I know, I think she wanted to be that kind
Yeah.
of, not stepmom, that mother-in-law.
Well, you know what it is too, is but it's because they were treated like that
Oh, no doubt.
by
No
their
doubt.
mothers and mother-in-laws.
Shouts to Nana, who just chain smoked cigs and drank martinis for breakfast.
And like, my dad has an awesome relationship with my mom's
Yeah.
parents. My mom did not have an awesome relationship with my dad's parents.
Gotcha.
But like, not horrible. It was never like I figured that out when I was an adult, but like as a child, I never caught on to that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to just have some perspective. And if it's really frustrating you and you really like, anytime it was important for me, it just took years for me to realize, like, I'd be like, is she making a dig? And we'll be like, no. Like, what are you talking about? You're seeing stuff that's not there. And I think it's because we're so conditioned to think like, this person doesn't like me.
Yeah.
And it's it's like a bit of a competition.
It feels very like freshman, senior, sorority. Like there's a degree of hazing, earn your stripes to it. I think that.
But I think it has more to do with mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws.
Yeah. That's something I just don't.
I would say Will has not ever experienced like something like that with my dad. Like they've disagreed about stuff, but it's never been like, Will's never come and been like, I think your dad just like made a comment. Like, no, because Will would just be like open with my dad, you know?
Mother-in-law wife seems to be the most unique, nuanced of like the 4 potential relationships. Yeah. Like dad, son, mom, mother-in-law, son, father-in-law, son.
Yeah.
The mother-in-law wife, like, dynamic.
It's because society has taught us that it should
be
like that.
Yeah, very true.
Well, good luck. But I really think talk to your husband. But then if it's like really horrible, just confront her. But I really think that after a couple of years, you just start letting that shit slide. And you're just like, this doesn't matter.
Want to do the next one?
Yeah. Hey, Brett and Sally, we had our first kid in May and we're looking to get her baptized. But my wife and I can't seem to agree on godparents. I only have one sister and she has 2 brothers. So the logical thing would be for one of her brothers and my sister. The problem is my sister and wife don't really get along. Most of it stemming from me not picking my sister's then boyfriend to be a groomsman in our wedding 4 years ago. And my sister, as a result, my sister saying I shouldn't marry my now wife.
Oh.
It was stupid overreaction from my sister. She's immature. We all know that. But my wife obviously was upset by it and still hasn't gotten over it. I know my parents are going to put pressure on me to pick my sister. And honestly, it's the easiest thing to do. And like, how much do godparents really matter in the long run? But my wife is saying I'm really picking them over her if I insist this. I just really don't want to deal with another massive blowout fight on either front, but I know I'll deal with one, and not picking my sister will continue to put more of a strain on that relationship. What should I do here?
Goodness. Let me ask you this. What legally do Fritz and Charlie have godparents?
No, they do not.
Okay. So I guess maybe it's a Catholic thing that like you get.
It's definitely more Catholic.
Yep.
Although I have tons of friends whose kids are baptized that it's like they're more of just like a role model.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
And I think it differs a little bit with every religion. Like when I was baptized Catholic, my aunt is my godmother. She always like jokes like I'm your godmother, but it's like I've never like come to her for religious counsel.
Yeah, I didn't know my godmother was my Aunt Debbie until I was like 20, I think.
I mean, I do love my Aunt Cindy, who is my godmother, but like and it's like funny because she was the only aunt who was at my wedding. She's like, it's because I'm your godmother. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. It's because you like lived like literally 30 minutes away.
Christmas Eve, I was like, yeah, because he's my godfather. And my aunt was like, wait, he's your guy? And we were like all going through all the cousins who's guy. That shows you how much
I also think it's more of a Catholic thing to choose a sibling. Whereas I think it's like more non-denominational, like not new age Christianity, but like less non-Catholic. To choose like a friend
mentor, whatever,
someone that you like know is strong in their faith, and you're like you'll pray over my kids and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm neither of my nieces' godfather nor is my brother because neither of us are religious. So like my brothers are like we're straight up we're not choosing you guys. We're like, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, like
I always thought it
literally
was
my
like
aunt who is converted to Judaism is my oldest sister's godmother. And it's like, she's Jewish
Yeah.
and we were baptized Catholic. So like, come on.
Yeah,
I think in Catholicism, at least in my experience of getting baptized in the Midwest, it was like, you pick a sibling.
Yeah.
Right.
The whole point
That's
of
what I thought.
godparents are like, they're supposed to be the ones that bring you through the church and like bring you up until you get confirmed. And then in the eyes of the church, you are an adult and it's your choice to be like choosing the church and everything. So that's what the point of godparents are.
Interesting.
But like,
I learned something today.
It's more of a symbolic gesture.
I thought it was like legally, who are your guardians if something happens?
I mean, I guess if you were like, but like, let's be serious. I have 4 siblings. Only one of them will get my children if something happens to me.
Who?
Emily.
Oh, okay.
But mostly because she has no kids. And
I was going to say, I was like, that. Okay.
She also told me one time that like that's the ideal scenario for her is that she just like inherits my kids. And I was like, so in this ideal scenario, me and Will are both dead. Anyway.
Okay, Emily.
I don't think she meant it like that. But anyway, I in my opinion, you pick no siblings. You just pick. And if we were going to baptize Fritz and Charlie, and it's not that like we're against baptism, but I was baptized twice, actually. I was baptized as a Catholic baby at like whatever age that was, like around 1 or 2, before 2. And then I was baptized again. I was in middle school, I think.
Oh, cool.
Because we were like, it was a non-denominational church. It was more of like, it's your choice to get baptized.
Sure.
And we like did it in the pool and all that stuff. You know, just like real.
Jumped in the hot tub.
Mega churchy. And
Very mega
no,
churchy.
it was literally in a hot tub in Westlake. And I kind of feel either way about it. I'm like, I mean, hey, if it's the tradition of the Catholicism, like, great, you do you.
I actually know my baptismal date.
Oh,
November 13th, 1994.
Wow.
I don't know.
I honestly have no idea.
I have like a plaque.
I have a lot of pictures of me in that like dress thing. You know, the baptism dress.
Okay.
Anyway, I think I have not been asked to be anybody's godparent either, which like kind of bums me out. Not really, but like I do think if we were going to baptize Fritz and Charlie, I wouldn't ask any of my siblings. I would probably ask like one of our close friends.
Okay.
Mostly to just kind of be like another like role model for their life.
Got you.
That is how I personally would do it. Like I said, I think that there's little nuances depending on like what sect of religion you're in and like what your cultural norm is. But like, I think that's the easiest way to get out of this. It's like, don't pick one brother or the sister. Just like pick 2, like your best friends.
That's the way to ruffle, I guess, all feathers, but 0 feathers at the same time.
Right.
Because you know, picking one, you're gonna choose a side. Maybe you can be like, hey, for kid number 2, whenever that is, you got dibs, kind of thing. I don't know. I like if I'm you, I probably do exactly what you said, which is best friends or something like that.
I also think, can you do all 3? Can you just do both brothers and a sister? Because I've also had friends who've baptized people. There's like a whole football squad up there.
Wait a second. That's
I'm
the
like,
move.
This is like everyone is involved. Especially now at weddings, we're like, you can have 20 groomsmen. You're like, you get 20 godparents. Here they come.
Pretty much. Yeah. Why don't you just double up the godparents thing?
But it's not really about picking between the brothers. It's about like canceling out the sister. So I'm like, do you want to be like to her, let's ruffle no feathers. Here's 3 options for you. You ruffle all and none by picking 2 friends, right? You pick one brother and the sister and you piss off your wife, which I think is the least appealing option in my opinion. Because your wife is the mother of the child.
Yeah.
So
she's got to have
if she's, again, what people need to realize, this goes back to every question we've answered so far in this episode. Your immediate family, when you get married and have a kid, is who you owe the most to. Your wife and your daughter, whatever.
Yep.
And then your parents and your siblings take a back seat because you've created a new family unit.
Yes.
Maybe not a full back seat, but like the first people in your life are like your significant other and your children.
Right.
So you got to defer to her. And then, or you can be like, what if you have both your brothers and my sister?
Yeah, play a little 2-on-1. double up.
then she's
brownie
only got a
points.
third of the power of the godparents. She's only got a third of the magic.
And she still gets to she gets her title. She's happy. 2 brothers, they're happy. They have more power in the poly godparent situation.
What I would do, I think the easiest option though is the friends, no siblings, and
Yep.
then if your parents and your sister are upset, you're like, we wanted to pick some friends.
Yeah.
Or there's the fourth option where you switch it up and she gets to choose the godmother and you choose the godfather and you choose that your sister's boyfriend at that time that was supposed to be the groomsman.
Wow,
Wow.
love that.
There you
That's
go.
huge.
And
Yeah,
really
make it
go
all
for
back
it.
up.
I love that.
I want to say this whole episode has a lot of themes for me, but like we are not giving in to like emotional terrorism at this day and age anymore.
No,
okay?
we're
So
we're
like
done with
I am
that.
over the like guilt tripping by parents and by your sister who you literally admitted like she's crazy and immature, whatever. Like, do
Mhm.
you this is what signals to me this is like more of a symbolic baptism because like do
Very.
you want that person involved in your child's day-to-day life? Like
And they care. They obviously care about it, which is like
right.
you're gonna. Yeah, I'm with you guys.
So
Pick somebody else, and if you really need to, go 2-on-1.
and like the important thing here is that like you probably need to heal the relationship between your sister and your
Yeah,
wife.
we have a little problem underneath the whole thing.
Is
Yeah.
that like it doesn't have to be kumbaya all the time, but you need to figure out a way to like coexist if you are going to be having to deal with your sister. But I do think that going to your parents and your sister and being like, my loyalty is to my wife
Mhm.
first and foremost. So I hope you
100%.
can understand that. And if you can't, like that's too bad, so sad.
And if
Yeah.
your wife needs a bang up mac and cheese recipe to maybe smooth some things over, I got you.
It's just the way that he wrote it seems like the sister's been in fault at both of these situations.
Right. Maybe he should make us the godparents. We're not godparents yet. I'm just saying. I
I
think
would
we
cry.
could do a good, a job, and we would look good at a baptism. Like I can
Great.
really class it up for a
Oh,
baptism.
absolutely.
I have like a dress on standby. Like I know exactly what I'd wear. So just
I'd buy you a new dress, Sal. You know how
No.
we do it?
wow, how?
DraftKings, playoffs. Talking about playoffs? Playoffs? You bet we are. Get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Scoring touchdowns is key to winning in the playoffs, and really any game for that matter. And you can score big by betting on them at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Ready to place your first bet, Sally? A lot of football this weekend.
There's so much. I have such a knowledge now. You
Mhm.
know.
Oh, yeah. Bills, Broncos would love Josh Allen to get that first touchdown. Would love it. Or you can bet on like the Chiefs game or the Steelers game this weekend.
Okay.
Steelers Ravens. That'll be a fun one.
You can't bet on the Chiefs game. They're also not playing this weekend. Just FYI.
Yeah, they did get the first seed. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed
Sally,
by that stupid team.
NFL knowledge extraordinary. I'm going to get
God,
on
I hate
DraftKings
the
this weekend
Chiefs.
and just like probably put all the money into my kids' college fund with
I hate
all
the-
the smartness.
I
that
hate the
have.
Chiefs so much.
I hate
I
them
cannot
too.
wait to go knock down wood. The Bills beat the Broncos, and then probably the winner, probably the Ravens at this point. And then you go to Arrowhead and just see what happens.
Yeah.
Here we go. God, leave it to a DraftKings ad to get me fired up for NFL football.
Mhm.
New DraftKings customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. So you, Randy, you can't bet on the Bears this weekend, unfortunately. But
Oh no, I would bet against them.
whoever you like Russell Wilson, you like Josh Allen, you like Lamar Jackson, you like Justin Jefferson, whoever you like to score a touchdown, DraftKings can help you bet on that. So here is the deal, folks. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code WASHED. That's code WASHED for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER in New York. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to if you have a problem. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Whew. Disclaimer. situation there.
You got it. Good job.
All right, I got the next one. Here we go. Hi, Brett and Sally. How do you feel about ghosting somebody? This one's for Randy, I guess. Do you think it's an appropriate way to let somebody down? Do you think it's disrespectful? When or if you're dating, how do you feel if somebody ghosts you? Would you prefer an honest, hey, nice meeting you, but we're done here text, or would you prefer the silence? What about if somebody ghosts and then, quote, rises from the dead after a long period of time? Is that responsible? Is that reasonable? Not to sway any thoughts here, but the guy who ghosted me is 30 years old and often preached on how important communication is. Seems really mature, right? Or am I too sensitive? How do we feel about ghosting, Sal?
Randy, do you ghost people?
No, and I can answer this question, all the questions here. If and when I do get ghosted, because it's so fucking common nowadays. James, Dan, and I just have the thing of just saying the game is the game. Like,
wow,
it is so commonplace now that it's just like, oh, another one. Like, it's even sometimes like this is going to lead to a ghosting. But no, I don't ghost. I definitely prefer the, hey, like I had a great time like this, but I don't see us going where we could be friends. Like, well, we're not going to be friends. And I've done that too. It's like, once I know that it's not going anywhere, it's like, it's not a copy and paste, but pretty much I think it's way more closure. It's just like, nope, there's nothing here. I prefer
even
doing
after like one date.
Yeah. Well, it depends on like a ghost and a fizzle to me are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
It's where it's like,
agreed.
You don't hit someone back up. Ghosting to me is pretty much like
you
are
disappear.
choosing specifically not to respond to like a text that has like a question or like, hey, let's
right.
Do you want to go on another date? And like zero silence is just like, all right, that's ghosting. Where it's like if you guys both don't text each other at the first date, it's like, all right,
that's not
mutual,
a ghost.
like,
that's
right,
just sort of a mutual
that's a fizzle out.
But yeah, like if it's like 2 dates and then like the third date, like try to set up another one and there's just silence, like that's a ghost. That's shitty. Where
yeah, if there's a
like
double or triple
hey, I don't
text,
see this going anywhere. I prefer doing that and having it done to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think most people would say that. I think ghosting has had its moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's immature.
Of course. Yeah, you're better off giving people closure. I think it's obviously disrespectful. It is closure text is certainly better than breadcrumbing, right?
Yeah.
Like the slow fizzle where it's like, oh, I don't want to make somebody mad at me, so I'm just going to like breadcrumb them from 3 messages a day to 2 messages a day to 1, and then.
So here's my question as someone who's been out of the dating game for like 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
We go on a date and then like, obviously both parties agree we don't text each other. That's easy. There's no answer for that.
Yeah,
but like, is it considered ghosting if you just don't text me ever again? If I don't text you?
I don't think so.
That's what I was
saying. That's a mutual.
To me, I consider a fizzle like that. Just like it fizzled out, nothing was there on either end.
But you're saying ghosting, like the true definition of ghosting is like you're just straight up just don't answer a question. Or
correct.
Like, right. Or
multiple questions.
Right. Okay.
Hey, how's your day? Hey, good morning. Hey, let's get drinks, and it's just like sea of blue or gray.
Yeah.
Or green if you're one of those people.
What is the date number where you have to, where you can no longer do this via text of giving somebody an explanation of like, I just don't see this going anywhere?
Like I think if you have to be seriously in a relationship, like if like you're saying you have to do it in person, you can't just do it in text.
Not in person, maybe
phone
even
call,
over
FaceTime.
A phone call, but like we're talking like you've been going on dates, seeing each other for like a month. And so probably a few hangouts. You're talking a few hangouts. You've been in group situations. You've gone on like 2.
Have you gotten
dates.
Horizontal yet?
I think if anytime sex plays into it, I think you got to give them a like, hey,
we need a full like.
It was great to me.
In person.
Like I've had fun, but
yeah,
this isn't going anywhere.
If you're in a relationship, like if you've
begun
a
relationship, it's got to be in person or over the phone.
If you have slept together, I think it's pertinent that you have some sort of in-person talk. I think 3 dates and some fizzle, you can probably get away with hey, this has been fun, but not too fun.
These are all technicalities. All I'm saying is this is the thing about this girl who just wrote in. He can't practice what he preaches, right? Mm-hmm. And he said all this stuff about communicating and then straight ghosted you. Like that's immaturity on his part. says a lot more about him than it does about you.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't need to let it go specifically. Like, you can be frustrated and annoyed by it, but you got to just hold a moment for it. Be like, that was fun, liked him, but he's immature. He clearly like said one thing, did another. Gonna let that go. Because again, like being really upset about it or spending any mental energy about it or hoping that he does the anti-ghost where he comes back to you. Like, is this somebody that you want to be in a relationship with or even date, like, or trust? Like,
Right.
He just said one thing and then literally did the exact opposite.
Yeah,
so
that's a 22-year-old.
Let's not give that person a time of day.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
this is so much easier to say as a 35-year-old woman, by the way. Like, there are times that I wish I could look back of like me from ages probably 16 to 25 and just be like, that person doesn't like you. And that's okay. You're not everyone's cup of tea and not everyone wants to date you. So you got to stop putting mental energy into this and just move on.
Pining
I will
Sally.
say the only one time I would say it's okay to ghost someone is if they come back from the dead. If like they ghosted you and they like they
you
hit
can
you
ghost
up,
them.
you can completely ignore them.
If they hit you with
like that's immature. It's like no, I'm not giving you a second chance. Like why do you think that I like no, like you completely like blew me off for like a month or two and then now you're coming back like no,
I'm saying this with the utmost respect to anybody listening. Like, please have enough respect for yourself that if someone anti-ghosts you, that you just would block them.
Yeah, you don't pick up the phone, so to speak. Yeah.
I think that's everyone's like, at least when you're like young and dating, you're like, everyone's like fantasy is like, oh, they're going to like come back and realize. No, it's not. Like, no, there's a reason why it didn't work. And that person was immature. Just move on. And that's so much easier to say. It's so much easier to say, but
I have ghosted before. I don't feel great about it, and it's not recently, but like I have ghosted before, and I feel like shit about it years later.
Well, because you're immature and you don't want to deal with conflict.
Correct, totally.
And this is different coming from people who are like in their 30s or near their 30s versus people who are 22. Like, when you're in college, you don't want to deal with the fallout of that, or it's not even the fallout. It's more of exactly what Randy said of like, I don't really want to hurt this person's feelings. Like, but again, clear is kind. Like, just be
closure is kindness.
Yeah.
Closure is what's the word?
But I'm sorry this happened. I would let it go.
Game is game.
Game's the game. You want to get one more in there, Sal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get back to it here. Okay. Which one are we doing?
You pick.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go with the last one.
Okay.
I'm facing a dilemma that's causing a lot of tension with my family. I'm a 30-year-old straight woman, and after spending the last 8 years dating, I've made the decision to stop dating altogether. Here's why. Feels like most men my age are either only interested in casual hookups or lead me on just enough to get in my pants. I've been clear from the start that I'm looking for a serious relationship, yet somehow it always ends with me being misled. It's exhausting and frustrating. I've finally reached a point where I'm prioritizing my peace over dating, but now my family is worried that this means I'll end up alone forever. They've even expressed genuine concern for my well-being because of it. How do I explain to them that I'm choosing to step back for my own sanity, not because I'm giving up on love altogether, but because I've had enough of being treated poorly? They don't understand just how bad it is out there and just how low the bar has been set. Help, please. Thanks.
All right. Just go ahead and clip what we just, the previous question and send it to them.
Yeah.
This is probably different as somebody who is like, entering the dating world, even though I'm not like on Hinge, I'm not on apps or anything. I feel like when you make dating a sport or like a priority, and you're like, I have to go on dates to try to find somebody because I need a relationship.
Right.
You're putting so much pressure on yourself.
Right.
That and especially with the idea that like I need to meet my husband tonight.
And I would say the other person too. Like the guy, she seems like she's dating douchebags, but even like girls, like I need like this right there. Like
I need to know right now your intentions on marrying me.
Like I just want
right.
get to know you.
You
Right.
are creating a situation that's it's untenable,
Right.
and it's unsustainable, and so it's backfiring. Partially because of the guys, also because it's impossible to be correct here, or for something to work out, because you're putting so much pressure on it.
Yeah.
Right? Am I crazy there? Where you're
No, this is totally the picture of like how I was with
Okay.
dating. And I think we've talked about this too, about how guys get to a point where they just like reek of desperation, like at 28.
Yeah.
This is the female version of that, where I think many women, and I think this applies to men too, but I think it's specifically a thing that's like plagues Southern
Which
women.
is understandable because there is a biological clock.
And just
there is
societal expectations, et cetera.
Yes.
I dated to marry like my whole life,
Mhm.
I would say. And that being said, I had one whopping boyfriend before Will, and it was for like 2 days. So, but like anybody that I was, I'd like hooked up with people in college, but anybody that like had a crush on or whatever, I was like, this is somebody I want to be in a serious relationship with.
Yeah.
And maybe like, I'm not thinking of marriage like date one, but like I dated to be in a serious relationship with people.
Totally.
Just like she said.
I do the same thing.
And I think I have always been, for years, pretty vocal about like I didn't really see the utility in dating people for fun.
Agree.
Until
I agree with that, right? Frankly.
well, so to be honest, I think my opinion on that has changed because for a long time I was like, what's the point? You're wasting everyone's time. I think from ages 22 to 30, you have so much growing up to do.
Mm-hmm.
So much. I mean, I would still argue even after 30, but like specifically your 20s, specifically dating to marry or dating for a long-term relationship or a serious relationship is like putting you at a disadvantage because you are only seeing, you're not like giving yourself the opportunity to date a bunch of people that would maybe be outside of like what your type or, end game is. Maybe someone who's a different religion from you, or someone who's like a different cultural background or something like that like would probably scare you off in the beginning because you're like, I just like could never, like if you're Jewish, like marry someone who's not Jewish because like that's what my family expects of me. And then you're now like only, and granted, I'm saying this as a fully non-Jewish person. That was the example I'm giving, but like you're closing yourself off to a lot of opportunities to meet people and to grow and to experience things. That's why I feel like my view has shifted on this.
Okay. That's fair.
I think it's not unreasonable to say if you got into a serious relationship with somebody, like, do we think about a future? Absolutely. You're not like, okay, we're not going to talk about anything because I'm 28 and like, we'll
supposed
just
to be having fun and whatever.
Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it puts so much pressure on you in the beginning. If you're on Hinge or at bars or having people set you up with the end game being,
to be my husband.
Marry him one day.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a lot of growth from this girl of like, I recognize that this is a problem for me specifically. And I need to like take a step back and like give myself a moment and also put some peace on it.
Right. It's like, this is what an analogy. This is like flipping over a bunch of stones because you're like, I got to find some gold.
Right.
Instead of just walking along the path and like letting something catch your eye because you're not looking for it.
Now, here's where my caveat is. I think
Caveat
you're
alert.
causing a little bit more drama by being like, I'm swearing off dating.
Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
And I get your viewpoint, and maybe you're like saying that to friends or family, but like my family would have reacted the same way because like, again, our parents are from a different generation.
Yep.
They'd be like, what? You're just like not going to get married? Oh my God. And they're freaking out. And you're just like, no, I'm just like not going to be on Hinge for like,
that's
until
what
I like calm down.
Right.
Until I just feel better about my life and like not putting myself in situations where I'm like upset all the time. I think as a dramatic woman, I think that maybe declaring it has caused some drama that
Correct.
was not necessary.
Very
For
much
sure.
so.
I was kind of in this situation, still kind of am, that like it just got really exhausting. And I've said that I'm taking a step back from dating. Like, I'm not closing myself off, but to say like, no, I'm done. I'm not like going to be in a relationship with anyone. Like, I'm going to be single my whole life. You're closing yourself off, yourself and your whole family. Just take a break. Don't swear it off.
Maybe
like,
quit
that's
seeking,
my advice to you.
Seeking it out.
Taking part of your day to seek out dates versus you're still putting yourself out there. You're still hanging out with friends and going to a bar and going to a sports game. And like, you're still putting yourself in situations where you can meet people or run into somebody or fall in love with somebody. But maybe give Hinge a break.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think you get off apps. I think it's the shift in perspective for me, because I think the minute you're like, I'm not dating, then you're not dressing up to go out with friends being like, gotta look good, might meet the one tonight. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that that's everyone's viewpoint, but like when you are single, especially in your 20s, it's always in the back of your mind is like, what if I meet someone? Like, what if we hit it up with someone?
That's like life.
I think when you take that out of the equation and you like let yourself be at peace with like, this is not the end goal. Even if the goal is like going out and celebrating Sarah's birthday, there's always in the back of your mind, like, what if there's like cute guys there?
Right.
And if you just take that out of it, then you're just not pursuing any dating without the like, I'm swearing off dating. So like, get off the apps. If somebody asks to set you up, just be like, not right now. I'm just not really in a place where I want to like date anybody.
Try the whole setup thing.
Yep. If you like, just change your perspective on like when you're out in public, like what you know, how you want to spend your time with your friends, and like, are y'all trying to like, if you've got a girlfriend who's like, oh my God, we like got to go out and meet guys. Like, there are friends like that. Everyone has one who's like real on the prowl. Maybe stop hanging out with that person too much, or like at least on night times. You know what I'm saying? Like,
hear that, Randy?
Take that part out of the equation and don't like make these grand statements, because I think that again is maybe now doing the opposite effect where you've like, I'm done, I'm closing it off, and now you're gonna have to deal with the drama of like your family freaking out. Yeah, you could just cut it. It's the same thing as like you can go sober and just not tell anybody. Right. Like you can make all these decisions for yourself. You can like stop dating. You can do whatever it is or go vegan, and like you can just, no one has to know. You could just like be vegan, right? Yeah. I'm not saying she's in the wrong for saying that. Like, but I'm saying if somebody approaches you or like your friends ask like, what's going on with the guys? And you just say like, oh, like nothing really. I'm not really dating right now. And again, we've said this whole episode, it's really no one's fucking business. True. Especially if you say it like that. And we're coming off the holidays. She's probably been dealing with all of that. Like her mom just absolutely having a meltdown about never having grandchildren or something like that. Yep. But I think the more pressure you put on it to be like, I'm not dating anybody, the more you're going to deal with the pushback of society versus you could just not date. Yeah. And just see what happens and like enjoy your life.
Right. Instead of forcing it. Ultimately, you want a family someday, or you want a husband one day, or you want a whatever it is someday. Don't forcibly close that just for the sake of, I'm sick of what's out there. Right? Like,
and I'm a firm believer, and this has nothing to do with this question. I mean, it does, but I hate answering this and then being like, it's really when you stop thinking about it that someone enters your life. Because I do believe that. I do actually believe that like when I met Will, I was like, I'm pretty like over this. And we met in like very unlikely circumstances. But I'm not saying like, there were so many times where I was like, I'm going to swear off dating so that guys will approach me. And then obviously it's you're like
I don't want to date. On, so I'm more like, ooh, who's the mysterious chick that doesn't want to talk to anybody?
Just stop putting like these guardrails on your life.
Yes.
And just like
artificial guardrails.
And just like let it happen organically. And if your parents are really freaking out, you could just reassure them like, hey, like I'm just like getting off dating apps. Like we're good. Like,
guys, I'm just being dramatic.
I'm not trying to be celibate, like, and like never talk to a man again. I just am like right now gonna not spend my energy like going and meeting up with a dude from Hinge every Friday. Right. And I think explaining it like that to your parents is a little bit easier for them to digest than just like, I don't want to be around men right now because they've just continued to disappoint me, which is true. But that is harder for like a parent who wants their kid to be in a relationship and be happy because that's what they had.
Yes, especially their generation and all
but again, that goes into it. You don't owe anybody shit. You just say, no, I'm not dating right now. Yeah. And then if they just push you, like, why do you care?
Yeah.
How does this affect you?
Agreed. Randy, anything there?
You're spicy today, you guys.
I think that's good. Like I said, just take a break. Don't close. If you get a meet cute, like just because you close yourself off, like, focus on yourself, but you don't have to completely close yourself off.
Amen. Agreed. That's what old Randy and I are doing. Just
Closing
things
yourself
happen.
off to
Things
love.
happen.
Yeah, go on dates with your friends, or invite your friends on
Go
dates.
on
And he
dates
just
with your
constantly
city.
just does not want to go on a date with you. It's
Yeah,
fine, Brett.
Randy's invited me to multiple things. And I've just been like, yeah.
You're gonna do the Carrie Bradshaw and date Austin, just like
Ooh.
go to
Date
when
Austin.
she used to date New York, and you just go do
Just
things
wherever.
in Austin.
I'm gonna date the city.
I'm gonna date the city.
I'm gonna go paddleboard.
I'm just gonna go to Matt's El Rancho by myself. Just kidding.
I've never done that. I'm not above going to a bar by myself, obviously, but
I am.
I
Matt's
actually
makes it tough.
would be so uncomfortable going to Matt's fully by myself. I'd be like, what do I do?
It's not
here?
conducive to a solo job.
Can you imagine eating solo at Matt's El Rancho?
No.
I am going to my second live performing arts show by myself, so maybe I am dating the city.
Look at you, Randy.
Wow.
Wow.
Next week, we're gonna know that he went to Matt's by himself on a Friday, just hung out in the bar.
I couldn't do.
Carve's one thing because you can sit at the bar.
You can sit at the bar. You cannot
yeah.
be at Matt's and like the.
Matt's is not a solo operation.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have this large Bob's all by myself.
That would be something else. Anyway, that's going to do us. That's going to do it for us today. Please subscribe, rate 5 stars, review, tell a friend about the show. Hit the hotline number 888-362-6245 or write in at the link in the Twitter bio at Mailin Podcast. Also in the description of this episode. Sally, where can the people find you?
Sally deFries on Instagram and X.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't even
wow.
use it anymore.
2025, she's adopted
She's
X.
going
You know
with
why?
X.
You know why? Because I hate that app. And
I
I'm not
do.
on it. So actually just Sally deFries on Instagram.
I am Brett Merriman at Schmerriman on pretty much any platform you can find me. That's Randy Turnback in the ones and twos. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Sally. We'll see you guys next week.